Hello and welcome. Today we are going to discuss chapter 2 from Trade to Territory from your class 8 NCERT textbook. So far we have been discussed about the East India Company come to the East India Company began trade in the Bangors, and we have been discussed about how the trade led to the batters, that is the Battle of Plassey. And we also discuss company officer become nabob and the company rule expanded, and we are discussing about the Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore, and war with Marathas, the claim to paramountcy, the doctrines of lapse we have been discussed. And today we will continue to discuss the last part of the chapter, that is Subsidiary Alliance and setting up a new administration and the company army. So let's begin. First of all, let us try to understand what is Subsidiary Alliance. Subsidiary Alliance was basically a treaty between the British East India Company and the Indian princely state, by virtue of which the Indian kingdom lost their sovereignty to the English. It also was a measures process that led to the building up of the British Empire in India. According to the term of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent forces. They were to be protected by the company and had to pay for the subsidiary forces. Under Richard Wellesley as the Governor General from 1798 to 1805, the Nawab of Awadh and Hyderabad were forced to give over part of their territory as they had failed to pay for the alliances. So now in the next slide, let us discuss setting up a new administrations. Warren Hastings, first Governor General from 1773 to 1785, was one of the many important figures who played a significant role in the expansion of company power. By his time, the company had acquired power not only in the Bangor but also in Bombay and Madras. British territories were broadly divided into administrative unit core presidencies. There were 3 presidencies: Bangor, Madras and Bombay. The Supreme Court head of the administrations was the Governor General. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, introduced several administrative reforms. So from 1772, a new system of justice was established, that is, its district have a 2 court, a criminal court, Faudari Adalat, and civil court, Divani Dalat. Marvis and Hindu Pandit interpret Indian laws for the European district collector, who presided over civil court. The criminal court was still under a Ghazi and the Mufti, but under the provision of the collector. So now let us move on to the next. As we see from the slide, the company army. The company army, colonial rules in India brought in some new idea of administration and reform, but its power rested on its military strength. The Mughals army was mainly composed of cavalry soldiers, trained soldiers, and horseback infantry, that is Piders, foot soldiers. They were given training in archery and the use of the sword. The cavalry dominated the army, and the Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professionally trained infantry. The rural area had a large number of armed peasants, and the local zamindars often supplied the Mughals with foot soldiers, Paider soldiers. A change occurs in the 18th century when the Mughal successor state like Awadh and Benares started recruiting peasants into their armies and training them as professional soldiers. The East India Company adopted the same method when it began recruitment for its own army, which came to be known as the Sepoy army, from the Indian word Sipahi, meaning a soldiers. Then A warfare As warfare technology changed from the 1820s, the cavalry requirement of the British Army declined. This is because the British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, Egypt, where soldiers were armed with a musket and matchlock. Musket means a heavy guns used by infantry soldiers. Matchlock means an early types of guns in which the powder was ignited by a match. The soldier of the company army has to keep pace with changing military requirement, and its infantry regiment now became more important. In the early 19th century, the British began to develop uniform military cultures. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style of training, drills, and discipline that regulated their life for more than before. And often, this created problems in caste and community feeling were ignored in building a force of professional soldiers. Could individuals so easily give up their caste and religious feeling? Could they see themselves only as a soldier and not as a members of the community? So what did the sepoy for? How did they react to the changes in their life, their identity, that is their sense of who they were? Then this we will discuss in the Review of 1857, which is in the 5th chapters. And conclusion, thus the East India Company was transformed from a trading company to the territorial colonial power, and the arrival of new steam technology in the early 19th century or so aided this process. Till then, it would take anywhere between 6 and 8 months to travel to India by sea. Steamship reduced the journey time to 3 weeks, enabling more Britishers and their families to come to a far-off country like India. Then, by 1857, the company came to exercise direct rules over about 63% of the territory and 78% of the population of the Indian subcontinent. Combined with its indirect influence on the remaining territory and population of the country, the East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control. So that is the conclusion for today.